Alright, this is just a brief overview of what you'll be working on in class today. This is what we're talking about today is what are called informal commands. Commands obviously are telling somebody to do something. We call these informal commands because in this case you're telling people you have an informal or close relationship what to do in Spanish. This could be your friends, it could be your family members, it could be people on your same social status that you've known for quite some time. Again, these informal commands are used for telling people you have a close relationship with what to do. Instead of describing what people are doing like we've done in the past, now we're actually telling people what to do. We're bossing them around in Spanish. For the reason that they are informal commands, they're also called tú commands, because these are commands you'd use with people you would use the tú form with rather than the usted form. Now, forming these informal commands is rather easy. It's not a complicated procedure. In most cases, informal commands take the same form as the él or ella form of the present tense. It's the same as the he or she form. You don't need to find any new endings. You just go to the he or she form. For example, let's take the verb hablar. Hablar is an ea verb, obviously, which means to speak. If you recall, the way you conjugate that is hablo, hablas, habla, hablamos, hablan. Now then, our word habla, which is highlighted here, means he speaks or she speaks, but it's also the way you're going to tell one of your close friends, someone you know well, to speak. It's the command speak. For example, the way to tell one of your friends to speak English is habla inglés. Now, habla inglés can mean he speaks Spanish or he speaks English or she speaks English, but in this case, what you're telling someone to do is speak English. Habla inglés. Habla inglés, por favor. Now, of course, not all verbs are AR verbs. We have ER verbs and IR verbs. Here's an example of an ER verb, but you do exactly the same thing. The verb comer means to eat. Como, comes, come, comemos, comen. The way you say he eats is come. That's the él or ella form, come. The way you tell one of your friends to eat the soup, then, would be come la sopa. Come la sopa. Again, it's the same as the he or she form. If you can form the he or she form, the él or ella form of a verb in the present tense, you've basically got the informal commands for most of your verbs. Okay? Obviously, not all verbs are regular. Some verbs are stem-changing verbs, as we've seen. Still, you're going to use the él or ella form of the present tense. For example, one verb from this chapter is the verb probar. Probar means to taste. That O changes to a UE, as you see in this conjugation. Now then, the way you say he tastes or she tastes is prueba. Prueba. So, again, you're going to use that as your command form as well. The way you tell one of your friends to taste the flan is prueba el flan. Try the flan. Prueba el flan. Prueba el flan. Alright. As always, not all verbs follow these rules. There are a few irregulars in Spanish that don't use the él or ella form. Here's a list of those. Instead of going to the él or ella form, you're going to use these. For example, the verb tener, to have. The way you tell someone to have something is ten. Poner, to put. You say put something is pon. Venir, to come, is ven. You might hear parents say to their kids, ven aquí, ven acá. Come here, ven, ven. Ir means to go. Obviously, ir rarely follows the rules. The way you tell someone to go is be. Be. Go away. Vete. Salir means to leave. The way you tell someone to leave is sal. Hacer means to do or to make. Notice the spelling change here. We have to change it to a Z to keep the sound the same. It's haz, telling someone to make something. Make a sandwich. Haz un sandwich. And lastly, the verb ser, to be, to tell someone to be something. Se, with an accent mark. Alright? A couple of examples of that. Set the table. Pon la mesa. Make the bed would be haz la cama. So again, for those verbs right here, we're not going to be following that he or she form. You'll find all of these verbs in the explanation of how to conjugate these on page 215 in your textbook. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and get to work on this. And if you have any questions, feel free to consult page 214 in your textbook.